Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bracken Outdoors podcast, also available on YouTube. So this is our longer monthly chat. So these are the longer episodes, ones that we either take a deeper dive on a topic and explore something a bit more fully than we would do on our shorter Wednesday episodes, or we get a podcast guest on, someone who's active in the outdoor industry, in bushcraft, in forest school, whatever, and we can really take a different perspective at an aspect of woodland leader life. So today it is just me out in the garden, and I thought we'd take a look at encouraging more creative play. So thinking more about how in sessions we move children from that point where they are interacting just with us to interacting more with the resources and with the woodland. So I'm looking at it specifically from the point of view of construction, of constructing new projects using the loose parts of the woodland in different ways. So some children really get into this. Some children are just the natural builders, engineers, inventors and thinkers. They see the possibilities immediately. But there's others that maybe struggle a little bit more, and you just need a little bit of a push to start considering the different ways that items can be used. Because I mean, there's 101 uses for a stick, but not all of those occur immediately. If children haven't had a lot of access to outdoor spaces before, they might not see the possibilities there. So we're going to take a look at three things that you can do that I do to really get children moving and constructing in the outdoor space during forest school sessions. So first of all, I would say that I work mostly on pop-up sites. So I'm working on sites where I have to basically set up and pack down everything that is even vaguely not natural and shift it off site every day. So this limits it. It means I'm not bringing in massive cable reels or stacks of milk crates or whatever amazing stuff that you can usually have to build and construct if you have a more permanent site or somewhere where you can leave a lot of stuff in between sessions. So I try and keep the amount of stuff that I bring in slimmed down. So I'll typically bring in some ropes, I'll bring in pulleys, I'll bring in some hammocks, I'll bring in tarps. Sometimes I'll bring in some longer poles, but in general I try, and if I'm doing sessions elsewhere, conservation or whatever, and we're cutting some nice long straight wood with forks on the end, I'm going to save that, I'm going to take it over to forest school. We also usually keep stumps on site, so whenever I see some big stumps going through tree surgeon or woodland work, then I'll usually bring those along, and I have some of those for seating, and then I have some of those that can be used for constructive play, making seesaws, using it as steps to get to the top of zip lines, that kind of stuff. So I don't know whether I've mentioned pulleys yet, but pulleys are a fantastic little resource and you can make tons of fun things with those. I also bring like a rope net. Sometimes I'll bring a miniature kind of IKEA castle play set. I'll also have construction materials like construction tools like spades, rakes, brooms, that kind of stuff, so they can kind of more actively literally dig into the forest school space. And then of course there's lots of branches and things that get cut off or moved around, and there's plenty of that stuff. Of course there's leaves, whatnot, but really slimmed down, just bringing in things that we can't easily find on the site already, which is mostly ropes and pulleys and tops. So I bring all of those in, and those made available every single session. So whatever other activity that I'm doing, whatever the main activity that I'm offering during a session, I'll always bring that set of equipment in, and that can be then used however they want through the session, even if I'm not directly kind of stimulating it. So that is what I offer in general. So I just put it out there, tell them it's available, tell them they're free to use it, and that is the bare minimum. But if I see that a group kind of needs a bit more work, there's a few other things that I tend to do. So number one, and probably the easiest one, is I just print off some ideas sheets. So these can be either themed, so I have a couple of themed sheets. So one is a forest school circus, the other one is a playground, and then I've also got one with tarp setups, and then I've got another one with natural shelters. So these are just A4 sheet, and then I just grab various different pictures and print and graphics and whatever, and just pop them on there, and just kind of as an idea sheet. Like, okay, if you want to make something, here's some things we can make. We can make a swing, we can make a zip line, we can make try and make a trampoline, we can try and build a wigwam, we can try build all these different things. It's just to give an ideas point. So I'll have those in the resources box, so they can pull that out and they can start kind of getting ideas. So they can either recreate it exactly as shown in the picture, which still requires some creative thinking to translate what's on the sheet to reality and to construct themselves. Or they can then use that as the jumping off point to develop a bigger or different construction. So at the basic level, just providing those ideas is a good way to stimulate that kind of construction mindset. The second thing I do quite often is I call them prompts to play. And what I'll do is I'll take a resource and I will set up in a way that it's not immediately recognizable what the end purpose is, but it can then be taken in many different directions. So what I may do is, for example, take a tarp, tie a guy line to one end, and then just tie that up to a tree branch. So there's just tarp hanging up from a tree by one corner. Now I've seen them spread this out and make a proper tarp shelter. I've seen them stake down the corners, or if you hang it in the middle, stake down the sides and create like a teepee shape. I've seen them turn it into a wall and then throw mud at it. I've seen basically thread some more ropes through and start making a tree house. It's open-ended. The shelter there isn't a certain shelter that it has to be. It's just there. Another thing that I do is I'll just get a pulley and a bucket, attach the bucket to the pulley, put a rope between two trees, put the pulley on there, and I'll slide backwards and forwards. Now what that's used for, or what gets done with it, is a little bit open-ended. I mean, it's clearly for transporting, but transporting what? And how can we design it differently? Is there anything they can add onto it? Can they make the rope longer? I'll just leave it there, just without any explanation whatsoever. I'll just set it up, I'll hang a rope here, I'll leave some cord in between some trees over there in like this kind of spiderweb pattern, and then just see where it goes. Inevitably the children will find it and they'll pick it up and they'll take it in a direction that I would not have expected. But because the resource is already out of the box and in play, it's so much more likely to be used than if it's just, as I said, just sitting in that box, just inactive. It's not calling out to be used and to be adapted and to be modified. So just, like I said, there doesn't have to be a set purpose for that. Just get some sticks, lean them up against a tree, and then see what happens. Put a tarp down on the ground and settle a stump in the middle. These are all things that kind of create a space and say, there's something happening here, there's a space and a resource, What can you do with it? Over to you. It's really getting that thinking going. You can see it's the step beyond those idea sheets, because it's looking at, okay, it's that creative thinking. It's like, I have the resource, I have the space, what am I going to do with it? And some kids will immediately get it. They'll be on it, like, oh, this is what I want to do with this. That stump in the middle of the tarp looks just like a living room, so to make the rest of the house I'm going to need the 4 walls. Another one I would say, oh, that looks perfect for a little playground, for a seesaw. Something I'll throw the stump on its side and they'll put a plank over that and it's good to go. And it just invites that interaction with the resources. Now the third thing I would say is creating open-ended challenges. So if they haven't really interacted with the idea sheets, if they haven't really done much for the resources, this is where we start to kind of step in as a leader a bit more. So we recognize that independent learning isn't really happening. So we want to kind of galvanize it. And this is also great to get teamwork going and develop those problem solving. So we'll set a challenge, but the best challenges are the ones that are as open-ended as possible. Just like with the play prompts to play, it's a good idea not to have a set way to achieve it. If you were to say, okay, I need you to create a path from this side of the wood to that side of the wood, and all you have is this stack of foam kneeling pads, then that's kind of constraining in some ways, because the obvious solution is just lay them out as a path or stepping stones. It's not really engaging much more in the creativity, and you're kind of leading the activity forward. Now there is certainly a place for that. If you're looking to get a desired outcome, then you might want to kind of drop those hints and make sure the resources are there. But if you leave it as open as possible, if you just go, okay, I've brought all of this stuff and I needed to get from this end to this end, and you can also set little rules in there between, like you have to hit at least 3 different heights over the course of your structure, or you can only take 4 steps on the same type of material before you change. That kind of stretches things a bit more. But the idea is you just provide the resources, and sometimes you might not even have a clear idea of how it is achievable. Obviously don't set something that's completely impossible, but sometimes it's nice just to see what comes out. What really do the children come up with? Is there going to be something that's really inventive and creative that you would never come up across? And you don't find out those things by just setting in stone, well, this is how I wanted them to achieve it. They've clearly got a problem to solve, and I'm the one who created the problem and the solution, and they either get it right or wrong, and it's a binary answer, which is kind of that typical pedagogical school method. What we're really looking for is creativity in the solution, in the problem solving. So examples of this could be, you could say, okay, we need to create a marble run, so this tennis ball needs to move from this end of the woodland to that, or this point to this point, and is not allowed to touch the ground. And then you've got a whole lot of drain pipes and planks and foam boards and tarps and everything else, and there's not enough, it's long enough that they can't use just one thing to get all the way. They actually have to think more creatively. That's a good example. I'd check out Mel from Wildly Curious. She's fantastic at creating these challenges, like the remote firelighting challenge, I think I saw her do, where you create a ring in the ground and you put a fire in the center, and the idea is that you need to be able to light the fire from outside the circle. And you provide resources, as many different resources as you can, and then you just say, here, over to you. how you go solve it, how you go work collaboratively. Maybe you might have 2 different teams working at it together. It all depends on the group dynamics, but just trying to get those ideas forming, getting those suggestions, and really developing their creativity. In the end, it's all about giving them more opportunity for you to step back as the person, as a sage who knows everything. My best sessions now, and the ones I consider to be a success, are where the children just go whoosh, disappear, do their own thing, and occasionally they'll come to me and say, I need to put a hole in this because I want to use it to make a rampart for my castle over there. And I go, okay, let's get the drill out and we'll make the hole. Or I need a saw because I want to cut this. Okay, let's just check that you're not cutting one of the trees that is really precious to us, and we'll have a look at that. It's when they start coming to me with their ideas, like, how can I make this work? I've got this idea, need some help. And best of all is when I can just step back and step away from it and say, hey, I've created the space, I've provided enough resources that they are now self-motivated and self-engaged. And that's where the creative problem solving really happens. So there we go. I hope you found that helpful and it's got you thinking about ways to engineer play. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well, either by email, info@brackenoutdoors.com, or in the YouTube comments below. And if you are looking to get more creative with your tarp setups, then do check out my Essential Tarps for Forest School Leaders course. It teaches you all of the nuts and bolts tools that you need to set up effective tarps. So it's not just these are the 4 knots, it's this knot, like timber hedge, is excellent for tying off this way, this is its weakness, this is its strength, and then you have that toolkit. So if you suddenly need to set up a tarp which is a lot higher than normal, or you need to create a way to buffer the wind, you've got the knots there, you've got that toolkit of knots, so you can step forward and make a tarp really quickly and efficiently and confidently wherever. And when the children come to you and go, I want to make a tripod for my teepee, you can show them the exact lashing knots they need to use. So do check that out. That's at brackenoutdoors.com/essential tarps. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Remember to make the most of every day, and I'll see you all next time.